Hello folks, it's my latest project. It's a desk, and as you can see, you can move it from point A to point B. Let's set it up and see what it looks like. So a couple of things, got my handle here, I got a little latch guy here, that's how I open her up. And voila. Got a bag of parts here, we'll get to those. Little hinge cover. This guy here goes right over here. All right, here we are, all transformed. First thing I wanted to show you the specs on and a little bit on the build is this top. So let's take a look at this top, see how we did it. All right, so we talked about the top. Let's talk about something else. Let's move this top off. And I have these cool little holes that hold this in when we're transporting it. Right, so there's two leg assemblies, one on the left and one on the right. And the challenging thing about these leg assemblies was really the legs themselves. So let's take a look at those. Both the spec and a little bit about how we put them together. Atomic City, USA.
Do you like living in a place?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I think it's wonderful.
Is there much preoccupation among the people with the existence of the atomic bomb? The existence of the atomic bomb.
I think it's wonderful.
The existence of the atomic bomb.
I think it's wonderful.
In other words,
all right, now let's take a look at something else. Have the handle here. We have hinges here, here, and there's one in the back here. In addition, there's these 4 bolts that go here, here, and here. And that's for this. This is a brace, because the hinges by themselves give a little too much play and affects the stability of the desk. So we did it this way. And I'll put these guys on. And this guy. And this minimizes this movement, right, this way. These panels minimize movement that way. All right, so let's take a look at what we did from a drawing point of view for this handle as well as this brace. And then maybe take a quick look at how we made them. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the miscellaneous items. One is this hinge cover, and we got some wheels and their lock pins, and some feet and their lock pins. Well, come on in a little closer so we can show a little more detail. Let's start with the hinge cover that goes here in the middle and covers the hinge. What it is a couple of pieces of oak glued together, and then I dadoed down the middle to create this channel so this can ride up against the boards. Then I just added a couple other pieces of wood and this hook for the accessories bag. And we got the wheels, they're identical. I have this little blue ring to indicate that's what goes up against the leg. And then we have the lock pin. So it's a 3-pin system. These 2 pins guide it, and this 3rd pin, as you can see where it sticks out, keeps it from pulling out. And these are also a 3-pin system. These are the feet, and once they're on the legs, again, they provide the ability for the transportable version to stand without assistance. And again, it has a locking pin that again keeps it from pulling out. So let's go take a look at some of the drawings and a little bit of the build. Alrighty, now it's time to wrap this guy up. All right, let's see. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the finish and the wood I used. This is oak. I picked oak because it's relatively easy to get a hold of. It's very durable, and it's less expensive than some of the alternatives. The finish I used was this Danish oil, which worked out great. It's more of a penetrating finish versus a film. And that means if there's any scratches or any other issues like that, you sand them out, you follow the directions, put this oil on, and it'll be like it never happened. So that's number one. I wanted to talk about that. Number two, I just want to note, I always make a plan. This is my plan. Now I have to admit, it didn't look like this at the beginning because you try things, they don't work, and so you revise your plan. On my plan, I have a material list, including the price and where I bought it. Here's the what I call the build sequence. I don't detail how I'm going to do things, but I do like to put the sequence together so you don't find yourself trying to do some impossible feat later. And of course, all the various drawings and diagrams. So that's number two. Number three, what could I do better? Anytime you do something, when you're done with it, you're like, oh, I sure wish I would have done that better, a little different. And in this case, these legs, 1.5 by 1.5 leaves 0.75 inside, just barely enough for the hinge. And when I put the bolts in, the wing nuts are big enough to where I had to put those bolts very, very close to the edge. So that was pretty tricky stuff. Bigger legs would have made that whole thing much simpler. Anything else on that? Oh, the other thing is, in terms of what to do, I'm actually going to do this though, is I'm going to put a little handle on here so that when I take these off, I have equal pressure between the pins. When you try to work it out, because you can't actually grip it, you're sort of pulling by the wheel, and of course that's not giving you the right kind of pressure. It's actually creating pressure on these pins the wrong way. So there's that. Anything else on what to do better? Oh, I'd just do a better job on these pins as far as making them the same length. Those are the same length. These are two different lengths. Why? I don't know. I must have had a brain fart that day. All right, what else we got here? That was number 3. Number 4. Just wanted to note the handle inside sort of looks out of place. You can just pull that off with 4 screws if that's a problem. And number 5, I just wanted to do a shout out and a thanks to one to the YouTubers. And you think you know how to do something, and then you start. I always do a lot of practice runs, like for these bevels, and boy, they were a disaster. So I got on YouTube, and there was just some great information there that really helped me. The knowledge and skill on there is amazing. Same way with these miters, very tricky. You can't afford to get them wrong. It's just so much work to get to this point where you're doing these. Very, very helpful. Some great jigs I learned. Really, really nice. Finally, I want to thank a very special teacher who gave me the inspiration to take on this project. Well, let's roll the credits.